So I impulse buy watches very often, and today I have one of those watches to show you. This is a Seiko BRIGHTZ SDGZ019. Now, if you're not familiar with the Seiko BRIGHTZ, there's a good reason for that. They stopped making them a while ago. However, they were somewhat higher end Seikos. So you're thinking about watches in the LX line today. The Seiko BRIGHTZ were sort of that in the past. Maybe not entirely as nice as the LX line, but they were sort of higher end. Then they started falling off and making lower end models. This is one of their higher end models, the Seiko BRIGHTZ lineup in general. This actually went into, or eventually would basically be folded into, the Prospex line. So their chronographs are essentially what the Prospex line are now. And then, of course, some of the other watches that were in the BRIGHTZ lineup went to the Presage lineup and a few other lineups of watches. So today I have an example to show you. This is, like I said, the 019. They made a few different versions. There was a blue dial that was the 017. There was a silver dial, that's the 015. My favorite out of the group is not this watch. It is actually the 013, the SDGZ013. And that's because it looks almost exactly the same as the Seiko Prospex 50th anniversary limited edition, the SRQ029. Except some of the pushers are a little bit different. The crown is different. You don't have this little inlay. There's a little, I guess it must be plastic inlay in this crown. It's probably the one element about this watch that I don't like the most. Before we go on, I just wanted to mention watchshopping.com. Watchshopping.com have sponsored this video, and they are a really great place to go for new and pre-owned watches. They carry dozens of the brands that we talk about here on this channel. They have them new and they have them used at great prices. They have brands such as Grand Seiko, Seiko, Tissot, Omega, Casio. They have G-Shocks. They really do carry a ton of different watches on their website. Definitely check them out at watchshopping.com. The dial on here is a black lacquer dial. It's sort of glossy. It has a pattern and a texture, but you really can't see it in regular lighting. It has to be in direct sunlight, and it sort of fills the dial, and you see this texture that sort of radiates from the center, and in direct sunlight, it's really the only time you see that fully, and it looks pretty incredible. Then you have these sub-registers. One of them doesn't have a ring and the other two do. So again, coming back to that SRQ, that's sort of what they did with that watch as well. And that is basically a copy, or an exact copy, of that 013, so the SDGZ013. That watch came out a while ago, and then they came out with this, the SRQ, to sort of update it, I guess, and make it a limited edition or a special edition for the Prospex line. Really a beautiful watch. I believe that watch is in titanium as well. This is a titanium watch, titanium case, bracelet, of course, bezel, the crowns, the pushers, everything is titanium. It gets an 8R48, the exact same movement that the SRQ gets. So you can see a pattern here. The bracelet has dia shield on it, and so does the case, of course. Has it held up well? Pretty well, actually, on this watch. I don't know how hard this was used, and I got this for a very good price. So this originally retailed for under $3,000, I believe. It was around $2,900 or $2,800, somewhere around there. Prices on these have gone up. If you want to buy it in the Prospex line now, I think they're around $3,500, somewhere in that range. That's unfortunate. This I paid around $1,499, but I got it from Japan, so I paid a bunch of taxes on top. So if you are looking for one of these, I highly recommend do not buy it from Japan, because you will be paying an extra 100 and change on top of what you're actually paying for it. So that is something to definitely consider. But you get to see the movement from the back. It is the 8R 48, I believe it is, 8R48, and you get a column wheel chronograph with a vertical clutch. You cannot see the column wheel. And it isn't really decorated very well. It's very similar to a 6R movement, although they do decorate the rotor a little bit better. It looks a little bit nicer. But other than that, it's not an incredible movement to look at. It's really not bad, but it's not incredible. And the bracelet, not my favorite bracelet either. I've mentioned this a few times. I really like the bracelets that have this sort of oyster style without these little lines of polish on either side. This is a multi-link bracelet, so these are all links. This end link is a solid link. However, they've made it look like it's a multi-link, but it is one solid piece. If you look at the bottom side of the end link, you could see it's all just one solid piece. But they execute it pretty well. It actually doesn't go all the way through it. It might be a separate piece, but it's just sort of looped around, or laid on top of the link and not actually through the link, which is fine with me. You have polishing, brushing. It's really nicely finished. You have that lip of polish that they put on the inside of the lugs, which I absolutely love. This is a 42 millimeter watch. I want to say is around 42 millimeters, but it does wear a little bit larger, 41.5. It definitely wears like a 42 or 43 millimeter, so 41.6, depending on where I'm grabbing it. But at the bezel itself, this is a measurement that I've been doing more often. It is about 40 millimeters, so the bezel is smaller than the case. You could even see that. There's a little bit of a jut out there. The lug-to-lug on here is, you do have male end links, so there's a little bit of a difference between the effective lug-to-lug and the actual lug-to-lug width. 51 on the spot, and then at the bracelet it's 51.1, so not a huge difference. You do get the male end links, but it does fold down pretty well here. It's a thick watch, so it is a chronograph. You do get a sapphire crystal, obviously. 15.1 millimeters is a thick watch, considering that you only get, I think, 100 meters of water resistance on here, which is fine, but 6.4 millimeters on the crown. And then you have pretty nice sizable pushers. I mentioned this before. I'm not a huge fan of this inlay in the crown. I think it looks a little bit cheap, on the cheaper side. You either love that or you hate it. It's not the nicest thing that I have seen. And then of course you're getting push pins in the bracelet, so it's a pin and collar system on here. Like I said, I have a 7.5 inch wrist. I think that this came fitted for my wrist and literally did not come with any other links. I don't think it did. But let me throw it on my wrist really quickly so you guys could see this watch on my wrist. Quickly, before I do, today I have a Zenith on. This is the Zenith El Primero Chronomaster Sport, and you can see the chronograph just sort of ticking away. It's actually really appropriate because I did I believe I did a Rolex Daytona alternative video where I featured, this watch, but I also featured that SRQ09, and that was because it sort of looks similar to this watch. I think that if you are interested in this watch, that SRQ is really similar in style to this watch, except obviously you're not getting a bezel like you do on that watch, which I love. I really love that ceramic bezel. I think it looks awesome. But it's a little bit loose on my wrist, but it fits me pretty well. That watch is actually pretty tight on my wrist because that's a loaner, and I don't have all the links. But there you go. 42 millimeters on my 7.5 inch wrist, and you could see it is thick. That 15 millimeter thickness is wearing high on my wrist. It wears like a 42 millimeter, maybe a 43 millimeter because of that thickness, so definitely something to keep in mind. I think I could pull it off, and I do think this is a very good looking watch. I think I'll probably end up selling this watch in pursuit of either the SRQ029. I was recently at an event for Worn and Wound, and Kevin S., one of the subscribers to this channel, was there. Really nice guy. He had that SRQ on, and I literally just bought this. I literally just received this, and my heart kind of sank when I saw it. I was like, oh, that's the watch I really want. This is awesome, and if you don't like the look of that watch, this is a beautiful watch, but it's just a little bit different. And the styling, for me, I think I like that SRQ better, or the SDGZ013 with the silver dial or gray dial with those darkened, dark sub-registers. It looks very similar, almost exactly the same as that 50th anniversary edition. Anyway, very quickly, let's do a lume shot. This does get some Lumibright. I think it's very little, but we'll check it out. I think there is. Yeah, I think it might be only on the hands, but let's check it out and wrap up the video. Well, there you have it. Not a lot of lume on here, just on the hands. A little bit disappointing, but again, it's not really a sports watch. This was in the BRIGHTZ collection of collection of watches, and they actually moved this over to the Prospex. I believe the Prospex probably has better lume. Maybe that's one of the other differences that they made to the watch. I hope so, because it's a little bit disappointing. It's LumiBright, so it's bright, but it's just only on the hand. So that is it. Anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Like I said, I paid $1,499 for this watch. Then I paid a bunch of taxes on top of it through eBay, which I highly recommend trying to find these watches outside of eBay because of that, because you're paying literally an extra $200 at least on top of what you're buying, because they're charging taxes for the watch domestically, and then you get charges for import taxes, which is mind-blowing. I really don't get it. So eBay sort of double dipping there. I'm not sure if they're paying taxes and they're passing those along to you and me. Doesn't make much sense. But tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.